So the next part to add is the internal overlays, which are going to cover up all these marks and joins. So the first thing we need to find are little pieces like this, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8, 9, 10, 11. And there we go again with the focus. Okay, it's not going to come in. Yes, it is. Yep. All right. Okay. Now 11 and 12, and blank on the end. So these go with your bridge in this direction. You pick up the one that's got a 1 and a 2 on it, and that goes along there. I don't know if you can see what I've done with that there. And then you also need to find end cover A, because we need this part to work out how much we have to stick out on the edge there. So the first thing to do is to fit the end cover. Right, so to fit the end cover, it should line up with all the various little notches which we've now done. Right, and then you can see that this part here wants to slide down until it's flush with the very end. There. That's the position that we need to glue that little piece into. As I don't have 3 hands, I can't film that and do that at the same time. I would suggest you use a PVA glue for this one, so that you can manoeuvre it around a little bit better. Not a lot, just a smear along on the inside. So I'll go and do that now, and then we'll come back. Okay, I've put him in position now, as you can see. I've used PVA glue, which is oozing out everywhere. We need to go along with a wet sponge or finger and just take off the excess. You should find that it is level with that surface along there, all the way along. And obviously don't glue the little piece to the end bit we've just added, this piece here. So we just end up with a protrusion showing as you have there. Right, so we do then exactly the same thing at the other end. So we come down to the other end. Again, we fit our end cover. And this time we need piece number 12. And we do exactly the same. Line it up with the end. So dry run first of all. Which looks good. So we then take that one off, PVA glue it, and stick that one back on. So if you'd like to do that, and then I'll get back to you on what we do next. Right, I've now glued that piece in position, so I can remove the end piece. Again, it's important to put this piece in round the right way, so that the number sits blank at that end, and you come along, then you've got a number, a 12 in this case, and then you've got number 11. So the next one to fit then, he's got 11 at one end and 8 at the other end. So we do exactly the same thing. We drop him in, do a dummy run first of all, and we slide him up until he touches. So you've now got 11 to 11 at that end. So we then glue that one in position, which I will go ahead and do, and if you'd like to do the same. Right, so I've now glued in the second piece with 11 at one end and 8 at the other end. So now we locate the next piece, which is the other end now, which is 2 to 5. So we come down here and we line up the 2s with each other, do a dummy run again, that fits in there, that's fine. So I'll just go and glue that one in, and you can do the same. Right, so I've now glued in my 2 through to 5. So the next piece to find is 5 through to 8. You'll notice these numbers are upside down, that is correct. So we then drop in 5 through to 8. And depending how well you built it and tolerances on the wood, this should fit in with a little bit of play. If you can see that, I come down here. If it's a bit tight, then just trim a bit off the end. If it's a bit loose like mine, then just set it about halfway so you've got the same gap each end. It's not too important because this area here will be covered up by little fillets. Okay, I will now do that, and if you could do the same. And there we have, I've now glued in my 5 through to 8. So that's the small strip all the way glued along. The next items that we're going to be fitting are going to be the covers that go all around the outside here. So those are the first things we have to locate next. So if you'd like to have a look in the parts, and what we're looking for is those particular 5 parts there, and they have numbers on them. So number 1, number 2, number 11, number 12, and this one with the holes in is number 5. So if you'd like to locate those, and then we'll show you where to put them. Right, we'll do a dry run first of all. So using number 1, we go down to this end and just gently position it onto the model, and then number 2, no need to be precise, just give you an idea of what we're about to do. That's number 2. And then you need number 5, which is the one with the holes in. And you'll notice on the model there are some holes as well. And you'll find the holes line up. Although the actual piece for fitting has slightly larger holes on, which helps alignment later on. Then you need to find item number 11. And again, loosely position them in. And then item number 12. Again, loosely position them in. So those items are the ones we're now going to glue into position. The best way to do it is with the white wood PVA glue. So I would remove number 2. And what we do is you smear the white glue on the back and then position the item onto the model using your fingers to make sure that it's parallel each side and there's no overhang, and the same at that end and that end, and keep moving it around while keeping a little bit of pressure in that direction so it goes up against this other part here. So just keep moving it backwards and forwards until it feels really good, snug fit all round, and then leave that to dry. I'll do that and then we'll come back and do the next piece. You don't need too much glue when you're gluing these parts in, just a few dabs of white PVA glue, as you can see. That's generally how much I put on, and you get a very slight oozing out of the joint, but not too much, and obviously it's enough to hold it in place. Right, that's my number 2 glued in. Again, when you're doing it, check along this edge, it's nice and smooth and it all lines up. And in that particular area, you may occasionally feel a bit of a lump. It's because this piece always tends to want to go that way when you're pushing down. So just bring him up slightly in this direction, and then using your thumb, just gently push it down until you can't feel any part of the joint there. Follow on round. It may feel a little bit bumpy in places. That's because the radius is cut with 180 different straight lines as opposed to a continuous arc. And again, clean off any excess glue. So that's number 2 done. Now we're going to move on to the one with the slots in, number 5. again a dry run. So position him on. There we go. Oh, take number 11 off, gets in the way. Right, position him on. Have a look down. Make sure that the holes underneath are visible through the larger holes. It's the smaller holes which are of the importance. Everything should line up, but if you can't see the hole underneath or is slightly obscured, then you may have to trim a little piece off here to give it a good fit. You're not looking for anything precise as long as you can see the actual holes underneath. Right, I'm now going to fit that part. Again, when we glue this part, be careful not to get any glue in any of the 8 holes. And this is part number 5 of the holes, all glued up, ready to be fitted. I'll attempt to do this with one hand while I'm filming, so you can see what I'm doing. Right, so on we go. Drop that end on. That end. Push it firmly up against the previous piece, that's in that direction. A little bit of down pressure. Right, there we go. Right, that's my part number 8 fitted. My next part now to fit is part number 11. Then we'll do a dry run so we know what we're going to be doing. Lines up that end and we line up down there. So I'm going to now glue part 11 in. If you do the same, and then I'll come back to you. And the last part to fit, well, I've now fitted part number 11, that's glued in position. So the last one to fit is number 12. Now this one may or may not need a little bit of work on it. It's because of the tolerances of how well you've built it and wood, that the actual gap between there and there may be a little bit tight. So take your piece, this is piece number 12, offer it up at this joint here, get in the right position, nice feel on the end, and then I'm doing this with one hand at the moment, go down and push it again so it's nice and flush up against the small piece there, and you may feel there's a bit of an overhang there, and that's what we've got to try and get rid of. Now I've got a bit of an overhang, so what you have to do is off of that edge there, just remove a little bit. Now I tend to do that with some sandpaper, and I can do this one-handed, and then just rub it backwards and forwards just to remove some off that edge there. You keep doing that, keep doing a trial fit. Again, nice and flush there, we go down there until it drops in nicely and is nice and smooth on that edge. Don't worry too much about a gap appearing there if you take off too much, because that gets covered up by a rivet plate. So if you'd like to do that, then I will go ahead and trim mine and glue it in position, and when you come back we'll move on to the next bit. Right, that's number 12 now fitted in, and I've sanded down my end about 1/4 to 1/2 mil off. So again, I've got a nice finish all the way around there. Right, the next pieces we're going to fit are the ones that cover each of the uprights. Look like these funny shaped things. There's 12 of them in all, and they're labelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got those around the wrong way. That's better, I can't count. 3, 4, 5, 6. If you lay them as I've laid them there. And then up this end, we've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And again, lay them out as I've got them here. So we're going to start this end. So we'll do a dry run again, pick up number 1. And number 1, the 1 goes with the 1 at the bottom. And in this case, the 1 goes with the 1 at the top. Now the important bit to line up here is that edge and that edge. When we glue it down, what we're trying to do is keep rubbing your fingers along those 2 edges to make sure they're in line with each other. You may end up with a small gap this end. Won't matter because we've got a piece that covers there. You may end up with a small gap there. If, however, it won't go in that direction enough, I'm going to make that very silly here. So if you can see, I've got a bit of an overlap there. If it won't go any more that way, then just trim a little bit off either the top, that surface there, or a little bit off of that surface there. And that then will allow it to go a bit more in until it lines up. Right, I'll go ahead and do number 1, and when you come back, we'll move on. Right, that's my number 1 glued in position, and I've got a very slight gap there. Now that's not going to hurt, because later on you'll be fitting these pieces. Don't fit them yet, and they drop in and glue in position like that. So any gaps will be covered up, and the same happens on the lower part. Right, so let's move on now to number 2. So find number 2. Again, do a dry run, drop them in, line the 2s up, make sure it's going to fit all right. You don't have to do any little sanding on the edges to make sure it fits. That's looking good. So I will now glue number 2 in position. And that's my number 2 glued in position. We have the numbers visible so we can see what we're doing. Again, they will be covered up when we fit the small pieces, so you won't see the numbers. So then we move on to number 3. So find number 3. Do a dry run again. It's important you always do a dry fit first of all, in case you have to do any work on a piece of wood. Very difficult if it's got glue on it. Again, that looks like that's going to go in all right. So I'll do number 3. Now here I'm about to glue number 4 on. Give you an idea of the amount of glue we put on. Just a few little drops running along. No need to smear it in. I'll just position that one on. I'll put it in the right place. That's why it's important to lay them all out ordered. So you put the right one in the right place. So that'll be obvious because it won't fit. Okay, that's number 4. Again, I'll finish that recording so I need 2 hands. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. I will now go ahead and glue all of those in. So when you come back, you'd have done it, and so will I, and we'll move on to the next part. I've now glued my 1 through to 12. So the next part we now have to do is to find and glue the actual brace pieces top and bottom. Now what these look like, and take note on this, are they look like that, and that, and other various shapes. But because I can't engrave on both sides, the actual rivet detail is engraved and then written by hand on the back are the part numbers and where they go. It's important you get them around the right way, otherwise all the rivet details won't line up. So what we're looking for is, that one will be referred to as inside because it's inside the bridge, B for bottom, and a number, so that'll be 1. And that one again will be I for inside, a number 1, but it will have a T on it for top. For example, the one that goes there has got an I, a 1 and a T. And the one that goes there, which is this part here, that will go into there. That's labelled, I picked up the wrong one, that's labelled a 1, a B and an I. So that's number 1, that's the bottom, and it's inside. So we'll just go through that again, otherwise we will get them around the wrong way. So again, if we're looking for that one, it's a inside, it's a bottom, and it's a 2. So there's your writing on there. It's not perfect writing. There we go. That's an I, a 2 and a B. And if we're looking for this one, that'll be an I for inside, a 2 and a T for top. So we want I top 2, which I'm looking for. There it is. And in fact, I haven't written on that one. And I've now written on that one. As I say, this is the first build I've done, so we're sorting out the little gremlins. So that's an I, 2 and a T. I for inside, 2 for position 2 and top. So that goes into that position there. Right, so hopefully that's made sense. You will come to some very strange shapes, which we'll come to when we get to that point. But for the moment, let's fit position number 1, which is I1T. Now again, we'll do a dry run. So position him, and what we're trying to do is to line up the edges there and the chamfer on the end. So if you line those up, got sticky fingers when this is glued, and then you should have a chamfer lined up there, and there should be nothing protruding in that direction here. You should have a nice level edge there. Right, so that obviously is going to fit, so let's glue that one in position. Now glued that one in position, and we have some nice parallel edges there. So next one we're going to do is bottom, so that's inside bottom 1. So we find inside bottom 1, which I have here, inside bottom 1, and we'll do a trial fit, push it down to the base, that way as far as it'll go, and you'll find that it will line up on both sides. So that one's going to go, so we'll just glue that one in position. Do the ones where there's a join there, you'll find that the piece you fit will line up with the join, so the join gets lost, so you don't see it. So we're now going to work our way along and do 2, but at this end 2, and then 3, but you'll notice there's no number 3 here, 4, and there's no number 4 here, 5, and then we get on to the specials. So let's not do that one for the moment. So I'm going to go all the numbers up to that one there, and if you could do the same, and then when you come back we'll deal with this particular special one here. Along up to number 5 and across the top, but I haven't done the ones where the holes are at the moment. Now we're going to leave those for the moment, so I'll show you the parts that go there. When I can find it, there we go. The one that goes in here is inner 5 and T, and it will in fact go in that position. Now it's that strange shape, because if you remember, this is one of the parts we made part of the girder structure before, and that goes into there. I'll just move that out of the way. When we assemble the bridge, so that will go into there, and then once we've assembled the bridge, that's then when we'll fit this piece, because it will slide up and be a nice snug fit. And the same will apply to these holes down here, of which the part looks like this. As that will go there, and that piece will slide into there. So again, we don't fit that one, we don't fit that one, and we don't fit that one, but we carry on doing the other ones same size we did there. Right, so if you'd like to go ahead and do that, and when you come back we'd have finished that little bit. You need to find 2 shaped like that, and they will have nothing written on the side, and 2 little triangles which have nothing on either side. They're completely blank either side. And where they go is, you take your first triangle, and that goes into that position there. You glue that in, and then you take one of these and you glue it on top. There we go. And then you do exactly the same with the other two down at the other end. So I'll let you do that, and I'll do the same, and then we'll come back and move on to the next bit. That one on, and that one on. Right, so that's all the upright braces and the plates done. We haven't done the plates 1, 2, 3 and 4, that's to be done later. We'll have to fit the 2 plates that cover here. So if you locate 2 items that look like that, there's a slight curve to them. And these go, again we'll do a dry run, and they go into position there. And at the other end, they go into position there. So if you'd like to glue those in position, and then we'll move on to the next stage. I've now glued all my parts in. So I hope you've enjoyed doing that to yours as well, because we've got to go and do it all exactly the same now on the other side, the other inside that is. So identical piece to this, so we do exactly the same thing again on the inside. So if you'd like to rewind the video back to the beginning and repeat the whole process. And when you've done that, we'll have 2 halves where we've done the girder structure on the inside of both halves. So see you in a day or 2.